this way. There we go, controller, yes, very nice. Look at okay, what day is it? I need to find. Yes. Hello, McGills. Please do us. Today is the 20th of spring, year 3. Very nice. Wait a second. Oh, that's right. Yo, what's up? He is awake. That's right. Yes. No, I don't want to eat you out. That is very disgusting. Let us put on a TV show or something for background noise. Yes, very nice. Let us search up fat. Spicy American content, yes.
For a brief period of time, Pepsi had the 6th largest navy in the world.
No, they didn't.
No, it didn't. Today we're talking about the famous internet meme that has been sent to me at least 10,000 times, that during the Cold War, Pepsi traded a bunch of soda to the Soviet Union. In exchange, the Soviet Union paid with naval warships, and for a brief period of time, Pepsi supposedly had the 6th largest navy on the planet. Now, to be completely honest, a couple of years ago when I first had this meme sent to me, I immediately started looking into it, and I was like, this is going to be a fat electrician video, because this is right up my alley. This is my whole thing. And it took me about an hour to come to the unfortunate, heartbreaking conclusion that the meme was basically over-exaggerated nonsense, so I never made the video. But then last week on this channel, Fat Files, we busted the internet myth, or the internet meme, that mattress stores are just a giant front for laundering money. I had so much fun, I decided I'd do it again. And this meme immediately came to mind. So I went back and I started researching again, and what I found out is that there is no truth inside of this meme, but the meme as a whole is actually a small nugget inside of a much larger story. And that story is an epic saga of how the American soda company undermined the Soviet Union, one of the leading powers
and still lost out to Coca-Cola.
Culminating in their grand finale of creating the funniest, most demoralizing commercial of all time. Our story begins in 1959. World War II has ended. The Korean War has also started and ended. America is now practicing containment doctrine. Basically, America has taken a vow to prevent the further spread of communism. And that goal has gotten extremely more difficult and complicated because now the Soviet Union has acquired nuclear weapons thanks to comic spies like Klaus Fuchs and Rosenbergs. Because obviously,
who got executed.
Warhead on their own, because well, communists can't really figure out how to do anything on their own. All they can ever do is steal intellectual property and then make cheap knockoffs and sell them on Wish.com.
I feel like he's attacking me now.
The AK. The AK is pretty dope. I'll give him that. But that's one thing, okay? And it took an American to make it in 50 caliber, okay? And that guy's running for Congress.
Brandon Herrera.
The world has essentially split down the middle. You have America and NATO on one side, and the USSR and the Warsaw Pact on the other side. The world is divided. The Cold War is at its peak, and we are at the height of McCarthyism with the Red Scare. America is terrified of going to nuclear war and the communists coming to get them. But also, Stalin died recently, so everybody's just kind of like, what if we don't go to war and blow up the entire planet? I mean, that'd be kind of cool, right? Maybe we should try to get along. So in 1959, in an effort to make that happen, America and the USSR decided to have a cultural exchange. Basically, it was like an agreement to have a trade show. Basically, like the Soviets were going to grab a bunch of their communist-made bullshit, they were going to bring it over to America, set up a trade show, and show it off to a bunch of Americans, and vice versa. America was going to grab a bunch of their awesome shit that capitalism made, they were going to take it over to the USSR, and they were going to show it off to all the communists. So when America sets up their trade show, they're bringing over all their best shit. They're putting their best foot forward. They're bringing over the best American cars. The Soviets are over here. They're used to seeing the Volga, the most popular car in the Soviet Union in 1959, which, to be completely honest, I thought was part of the female reproductive system until right now. No. And then we've got America showing up with a 1959 Chevy Impala, which is gorgeous and objectively better in every single way. The Soviets are used to brutalist architecture, the ugliest, most disgusting, soulless architecture mankind has ever come up with. Cool. We're going to grab a house from a suburban neighborhood in America, and we're going to bring it over to the USSR and show it off. And then we're going to cut it in half and split it open so everybody can get a nice big view of how awesome our houses are. And because we split the house in half, we're going to call it Splitnik. Get it? Sputnik, Splitnik. That's fucking fun. And then, obviously, we're going to bring over a ton of different food, which is something the commies don't know anything about at all. And one of the food vendors that we brought over was Pepsi. And I know what you're thinking, why would we bring Pepsi? Why didn't they bring Coke? Well, from what I was able to find, they tried to bring Coke first, but Coke declined because they didn't want to associate with commies, which Based. Didn't know I could like coke any more than I already do, but here we are. So Pepsi shows up, and Pepsi is like, okay, this is a great opportunity. Maybe we can pierce the Iron Curtain. We can get into the USSR and open up this new market that no American company has access to, and we can become the official beverage of the USSR, and we'll make billions and billions of dollars. It's a brilliant plan. I mean, maybe. I find it hard to believe that becoming the official soda of the USSR would be a good plan, but I mean, we'll see what happens.
I've done studies, 60% of the time, it works. Every time. That doesn't make sense.
So Nikita Khrushchev, Stalin's replacement, the head of the USSR, he's walking around this trade show and he's talking shit the entire time, right? He's looking at all of America's cool cars, all the food, the houses. He's looking at everything, and he sees it as just one big psyop. Like, America can't be doing this well. They're clearly putting their best foot forward, trying to demoralize the Soviet people. So he's just going through the whole trade show, unimpressed, talking shit the entire time. And of course, he's walking around America's highest ranked delegate there. Obviously, America's not going to send the president of the United States over the Soviet Union because they can kidnap his ass, and they're not going to send anything over America, so they just send the high-ranking person, and that high-ranking person is the vice president at the time, Richard Nixon. Eventually, Nixon gets tired of Khrushchev talking shit, and they get into a little bit of a heated debate, an argument, a shit-talking contest between the two of them in the kitchen inside of the demonstration house. And this is referred to as the kitchen debate. So they're having a shit-talking contest in the middle of the kitchen, and the executive from Pepsi, Donald Kendall, sees his opportunity. He's got a plan. He's got a little picture of Khrushchev drinking a Pepsi, and that picture's going to go viral, and everybody in the USSR is going to want to drink it, and that's how they're going to break in and pierce that iron curtain. Remember, Nikita Khrushchev doesn't want to lose some president. He wants everything to be shitty. So, A, he's probably not going to stand for it. And even if he did, he's definitely not going to do a good review. But Donald Kendall's got a plan. He's going to show up right at the end of the season, refreshing beverage, and he's going to finesse a good review out of Nikita Khrushchev. How's he going to do it? He's going to show up with 2 cups of Pepsi. One for Nikita Khrushchev, also for Nikita Khrushchev. Pepsi. This one is made with water from America, and this one is made since we got here with water from the USSR. Which one do you like more?
That's bitch!
Now, Nikita Khrushchev is backed into a corner because if he's going to give a bad review to Pepsi that's made with water from the great USSR, he's talking shit about his own home country. He can't do that, so he's forced to try them both, and then say that the one from the USSR is fantastic. And then, of course, while he's taking a drink, he's make sure to get pictures. We've got the before and the after. Here's the before. Moments away. Seconds away from success. Look at Donald Kendall in his white pimp suit. That is a man who knows his plan is about to come together. And then we've got the after. Look at the smile on Nikita Khrushchev's face. Tasting capitalism for the first time. It's beautiful. These pictures go viral, and Pepsi becomes the mythical drink of capitalism that can bring tears to even a communist leader's eyes. So now people in the USSR, they want to try Pepsi. They want to be able to drink it. The problem is, they can't really buy it because the Soviet Union uses the ruble, which isn't really recognized by anybody outside the Soviet Union. So even if Pepsi did go in there and sell a bunch of Pepsi, they could only get paid in rubles, which aren't good anywhere else in the world, so the entire thing would be worthless. And before Pepsi and the USSR can figure out some kind of alternative deal, the Cold War ramps up a ton, the nuclear arms race is going on, nobody's doing any business with the USSR, it's looking like we're going to nuclear war, so it's not relevant. Richard Nixon is trying to escalate the entire Cold War. Basically, we've spent the last 20 years making as many nuclear bombs as possible, coming up with a bunch of ridiculous creative ways to put them on our enemies' foreheads, and it came out of how America and the USSR both have enough nukes to end the world anytime soon. So Nixon wants out a deal with the USSR, solve the strategic arms limitation talks, and basically it puts a cap on how many nukes each country can have and how many methods of deploying them. Basically, we both have enough nukes to blow up the entire planet. Why are we making it? Just stop for this and accept the fact that either one of us can get pissed off and flip the entire world over whenever we want. And this is the world, really, that America is trying to work with the Soviet Union. That into the equation. So he comes in immediately to the this is an enormous untapped market. If he can get in there, he'll absolutely crush. He knows that. But the problem is, Soviet Union still has the ruble. It's still worthless everywhere outside the Soviet Union. So the Soviets literally don't have any money to pay for the Pepsi with. So what do you do when you want something and you don't have money? You trade. Okay, well, what do the Soviets have? Vodka.
We got warships.
The Union isn't allowed to export and sell their vodka in the United States because the United States doesn't do business with the USSR because, sanctions and whatnot, political nonsense. So, obviously, this plan of being allowed to sell Soviet vodka in the United States of America on Pepsi's behalf is a pretty tall ask for the U.S. government. Luckily, Donald Trump helped politicians campaign and win his office, and that politician's name is, let me check my notes.
Oh yeah, Nixon.
Richard Nixon was fucking president.
Keep the riffraff out of here.
And now they're home, and have been since the 1959 trade show 13 years ago. So Donald Kimball goes over to his homeboy, the president, and is like, hey, if I give the Soviet Union a bunch of concentrated Pepsi syrup so they can bottle it over in the USSR and Minnesota, and they pay me with Russian vodka, can I turn around and sell that in the U.S. marketplace, and Pepsi keeps all the money? To which Richard Nixon and the rest of the American government is probably like, so let me get this straight. You wanted to be able to sell Russian vodka in the U.S. marketplace, and that money is going to stay in the U.S. marketplace. Pepsi is going to keep that money, and in exchange, you're going to give the Soviets
Diabetes. Yep.
Yeah, that's go ahead. Boom, deal made. Pepsi goes on to become the first American product sold inside the USSR, the first American company to pierce the Iron Curtain. And this is the mythical capitalist drink that they've been wanting for the past 10 years since the 1959 trade show. It becomes outrageously popular. So that's the deal. Pepsi sells the Pepsi concentrate to the USSR. They take it to their own bottling plants. They make Pepsi. They sell it. They have the licensing to market it as Pepsi. In exchange, they get a bunch of Soviet-made vodka. They turn around and sell it in the U.S. They make some money. Happy, the plan works. Right up until it doesn't. By 1989, you gotta remember, Pepsi is essentially operating inside the USSR with a monopoly. Everybody's drinking fucking Pepsi, whereas on the other side, where they're trying to sell vodka, there's competition for alcohol. There's beer, whiskey, there's probably other vodka brands, right? They're not selling as much vodka as they are Pepsi, which means Pepsi's not making enough money, so they've got to figure out some other way to barter with the USSR to get the value from all the Pepsi they're sending over there. And this is where the warships come in.
We need more vodka.
According to the internet meme, Pepsi then trades a bunch of Pepsi over to the USSR in exchange for 20 Soviet warships, 17 submarines, 1 cruiser, 1 frigate, and 1 destroyer. And then they eventually sell it off to be scrapped, and that's how they get their money. But for a brief period in time, Pepsi had the 6th biggest navy on the planet.
I don't believe you.
Okay, no, it's not. I did the rough tonnage on 17 submarines, a cruiser, a destroyer, and I checked in the top 10 for 1989. Honestly, I'd be shocked it was even on that point. And that's if you're being generous enough to call 20 scrapped vessels a viable navy, which it's not. That's also just not what happened. And there's one YouTube videos about this. They all seem to have a different version of what happened or how this went down. Some of them say what the meme said. Some of them have a little bit different critique, whatever. I don't think any of them are right from all the other videos that I watched. They all just appear to be citing each other, citing the meme, or citing random blog posts in the town. So I went through scouring newspaper articles from all across the United States of America from 1989 until 1995, and here's what I found. Pepsi did not trade concentrated sugar syrup to the USSR for 20 warships. At no point did Pepsi have ownership over these warships. What they did is they brokered a 3-way deal with a Norwegian shipyard. And they basically had the same exact proposal that they had with the US government. They approached Norway and they were like, hey, if we convince the USSR to turn over a bunch of their warships to you for scrap, and in exchange, you give me a bunch of money, and
The
then
booksellers in town today.
would that be okay with you? And the Norwegian government is like, cool, that's great. So the Soviet Union turned over 20 warships to a Norwegian scrap company. They went and picked up the warships. Pepsi had no ownership of them at any point in time, and the Norwegian company gave Pepsi a bunch of money. Now, unless American newspapers start reporting this, you can make the story very easy to twist and watch something and think America had the 6th largest navy on the planet at some point in time, even though that is incorrect. comes from a bunch of Lithuanians, that's your fucking problem. So now Pepsi is absolutely screwed. They're up a creek without a paddle. Like, if they don't get these ships, they've already invested a ton of money in all these Pizza Huts, so they give them Pepsi. Like, they're gonna lose their ass on this deal if they can't figure this out. They tell this to the Ukrainians, and the Ukrainians are like, okay, fine. Let's finish the ships. We'll give them to you. You can sell them for $1 billion. We need you to reinvest a bunch of that money into the Ukrainian economy. So it's like, okay, I'm listening. What do you want? We're gonna need like 100 Pizza Huts and at least 5 Pepsi plants because this shit's fucking awesome.
That's the best I could do.
I mean, that's going to cost like $300 million to make all those factories and all those Pizza Huts, but like, they have no other choice. Plus, they'll also have the factories and Pizza Huts, so they'll be making revenue down the road. They're securing an audience. Like, all right, best deal we're going to get, we'll take it. And while all this is going on, while Pepsi's running around 15 different nations trying to piece together their business that was shattered into a million pieces, guess what happens? Coca-Cola comes in with their abundance of cash and starts marketing all over the place, and it takes off because they have the perfect setup, right? Like, Pepsi was banking on, I was here first, I'm ingrained in the culture, they've already developed a habit of drinking Pepsi, they're gonna choose me over Coke. Finally, I'll have an audience that likes Pepsi more than Coca-Cola. Not what happens at all. The Soviets view it as like, oh, Pepsi's the backup strategy that they were willing to sell to the commies, and Coca-Cola was the good shit that they were hoarding for themselves. So then everybody starts drinking Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola becomes the #1 soda in what was the USSR. Okay, and that's the moral of the story. Don't do business with communists. Pepsi did that. That's what happened to Pepsi. But then, in 1997, Pepsi turns it around and completely redeems themselves. Yeah, I don't know who's responsible for it, but some diabolical genius, some red American had the best idea on the planet. What if we could get Gorbachev, last leader of the USSR, to do a fucking Pizza Hut commercial? Oh, and it happens. It's poetry. It's the most ironic, beautiful shit on the planet. This is like the Soviet Union won, America collapsed, and they somehow convinced Ronald Reagan to do a commercial for the Labia, or whatever that stupid, ugly-ass Soviet car was called. Okay, literally the leader of the ideology of communism in America rolls up and is like, cool, yeah, just put the fries in the bag, nerd. Everybody likes to talk about what they would do if they got a time machine. I'm telling you right now, the first thing I'm doing is I'm grabbing that video, I'm going back in time, I'm going to show Karl Marx, Lenin, Stalin, how all this shit ends, and then I'm going to die of dehydration.
That electronic man, it is not real. It is cheap American propaganda. Crackbang is it.
I'm having so much fun. Give me more stupid news to invest in.
Greenland. Yes, it is very interesting, my friends. What now? What now? What are we going to learn about today? Remember, Peter Brown. No resin projects in January. Oh, there it is. There it is. On the Greenland videos. Yes, very nice. Very nice. We're going to learn why America wants Greenland.
Times doing live shows, I've met tens of thousands of fans, and one of the biggest comments that I get is, I wish you were my history teacher in high school. I probably would have actually learned something. So I thought it would be cool to make a video on what it would be like if I was teaching a history class. Oh, is that so? And in my opinion, one of the most important things a history teacher can do is demonstrate to their class that history is important because history can be the best predictor of the future, and it can help you understand current events. So today, I'm going to try to do just that. Today we're talking about that time when America accidentally nuked Greenland. I mean, technically we dropped the nuke right on their coastline, but potato. And then that time that we accidentally carved a massive nuclear missile launch facility in the side of a glacier inside of Greenland. And when I say accidentally, I don't mean we accidentally built it. I mean we accidentally got caught. And somewhere along the way, we're going to answer the question, why is America suddenly obsessed with buying and or taking over Greenland? I've got a newsflash for you.
It's not suddenly.
America's been obsessed with acquiring
In the 1850s. Seward Folly.
Seward has decided that he wants to try to purchase Alaska from Russia. Why does he want to purchase Alaska?
It's
strategically valuable pieces of land on the entire planet. No, he is not. He pretty much wants to purchase Alaska for the sole reason so that Britain can't have it. Is it petty? Yes. But also, based in oil business, he calls upon somebody even pettier than him, the American diplomat to Russia, Vladimir Cassius Clay, the most gangster politician of all time. Together, they broke a deal to purchase Alaska from Russia for $7.2 million, a whopping 2 cents an acre. Now, with the benefit of hindsight, understanding that Alaska is full of natural resources, on top of that, it is very important geographically for military strategy, this is one of the greatest real estate deals of all time. But that's not really how everybody saw it in 1867 because they didn't know that yet, so they interpreted this as we just got out and sold rights in the desert, spending $7.2 million buying this frozen wasteland where nobody wants to live. What's so funny about it?
What's so funny?
Ford, on the other hand, is not deterred. He just got one deal done. He wants to keep the momentum going. He looks around and he's like, what else can I buy? And then he sees another frozen wasteland. Great. He sends senators over there. They bring back reports. He's trying to justify to Congress why we should buy Greenland. He's in talks with Denmark, trying to purchase it from Denmark. The report is he needs to pay $5.5 million. However, due to the public backlash from Alaska and them not wanting to buy another frozen wasteland, he'll never and this kicks off America's long-term ambition of trying to buy Greenland from Denmark. Fast forward to the next time that we try to acquire it, 1910, President Taft decides he wants to buy Greenland. Why? Because he wants to be petty just so the British can't have it. No, not this time. He actually has a good plan and a good reason for why. You see, a couple years prior to this, U.S. naval officer and historian named Alfred Thayer Mann came out with a new book that kind of revolutionized the world's understanding of global warfare. And this book is called The Power of One History. Now, the real point here in this book is basically he asserts the point that a large navy is better than having a large army. He basically makes the point that while big armies are cool, and big armies are always cool, big armies also have a big stomach. So when you're talking about global warfare, you need to transport large quantities of food and supplies across the planet, and you're going to need a navy to do that. Otherwise, you're not going to have a big army for long. When you really condense and boil this down, he's basically saying that trade routes, aka logistics, is the most important part of global warfare. Whoever has the best logistics is probably going to win. So the question becomes, how do you control the trade routes? Well, you can build a jet engine. You can just have them out on the ocean roaming around the people center, or you can identify the geographic choke points and just control the choke point where you know the enemy is going to have to pass through, and then you can fight them there in that area. So that becomes America's global strategy, is to identify trade choke points and then own the land adjacent to those choke points, and that land functions becomes a giant fictional battlefield where you can harbor all of your navy and guard that choke point. You control trade routes, you basically control the war, which is why in 1910 he created a deal with Greenland because it is one of those choke points. The only way to get from the North Atlantic to the North is to travel between one of two gaps, the gap between Greenland and Iceland, or the gap between Iceland and the UK. So Taft identifies this big choke point and he tries to buy it. He goes to Denmark and he's like, hey, we kind of want this giant frozen wasteland we've got here. Don't worry about why. We've got these two Filipino islands under our control. We're willing to trade those to you in exchange. Denmark refuses. So it's looking like Denmark doesn't want to sell any of its empire, but then in 1917, 7 years later, America reapproaches Denmark and is like, hey, we know you're not looking to sell Greenland. However, you have these islands over here that are now called the Virgin Islands, and we need a bunch of forward operational bases and fueling stations for our global empire's navy. Would you be willing to sell it? And Denmark is like, sure, $25 million. America purchases the Virgin Islands from Denmark for $25 million. And this kind of keeps alive the hope or the idea that maybe one day in the future, Denmark will be willing to sell Greenland as well. Fast forward the early morning hours of April 9th, 1940, Germany invades Denmark. Okay, fast forward again, lunchtime, April 9th, 1940, Germany has conquered Denmark. It took about 6 hours.
Took him one day.
Okay, that kind of sounds like I'm talking smack. I'm not. That's just factually what happened. If I was talking smack, I would be like, what the fuck is going on over in Denmark? The Polish had a post office in Danzig that managed to hold out against the Nazis for 15 hours, and your whole country folded in 6? What are you guys doing? Hey, look, I'm just saying, when the Polish mail carriers are outperforming your entire military, it's not a good look. They were ambushed and caught off guard. That's not fair. Yeah, that's cope. I'm sorry. I'm not buying the statement that the Polish mailmen had better operational intel as as to what the Nazis were up to than an entire country's military. Okay, moving on. Regardless, Greenland is now defenseless. America already wants Greenland. On top of that, they definitely don't want the Nazis taking over Greenland and putting, forward weather stations and airstrips and all kinds of shit they're going to need for war to attack the U.S. one day. So America immediately moves in. Now, legally speaking, America has no authority to do this. Factually speaking, who the fuck's going to stop them? Because it sure as shit ain't Denmark. Damn! So about a year later, America decides, okay, we should probably make this, legal so we have an excuse to actually have this humongous military presence in Greenland. Cue this man, Heinrich Kaufmann, Denmark's ambassador in the United States of America. He's living in the U.S. when Denmark is invaded. So not a huge fan of the Nazis. He just conquered his entire country. So he goes to the American government and is like, look, I'm willing to sign pretty much whatever you want. He signs the Greenland Defense Agreement, which basically just says Denmark still owns Greenland. However, the United States can do whatever the fuck they want there. You want to build airstrips, occupy it with your military, go for it. Say that again? To which the American government is like, I'm sorry, you're just the ambassador. Do you have the authority to do this? Like, did the Danish government sign off on this? And he's like, no, not at all. They're actually going to charge me with high treason for this. But as far as I'm concerned, they're all under Nazi occupation. We can't trust anything they say. And I think this is what the king would want, so I'm going to go ahead and give you permission to do it. So you're just like one guy going rogue with no actual authority to do this on behalf of your country. They're actually going to nickname me the King of Greenland after this. Good enough for me. Send in the troops.
And they will have felt grateful and encouraged when the president expressed his hope for a speedy liberation of Denmark. And they heard the president's assurance that Greenland will remain Danish. In this world of broken treaties, they know the word of the American people and their government can be trusted.
The Danish government then goes on to charge Heinrich with high treason, tells him to come back home to face his punishment. He's like, stays living in America for the rest of World War II. After World War II, returns home when the government is back to normal and he is welcomed as a hero. So World War II ends, 1946. Now we've got a problem because Denmark kind of wants their territory back, but also America has spent a ton of money developing all of these defenses and airstrips and all kinds of shit all over Greenland. They've got a lot of money invested. They kind of want something out of it. Or better yet, to just own it as a whole. So President Truman goes to the Danish government and is like, I will give you $100 million in straight gold if you sell me Greenland. I love gold. To which the Danish government is like, counteroffer, we're not going to sell you Greenland. You can keep your gold, but we're willing to sign the Defense of Greenland Agreement. To which the American government is like, okay, I'm listening. What are the terms of this agreement? Well, basically, we still own Greenland, but you can go ahead and stay there, occupy it, have a huge military presence there, and more or less act like you own it, but on paper, we still own it. I'm sorry, your counteroffer is that you want me to keep all my money and then just continue occupying Greenland and act like I own it.
Yeah.
Deal?
Damn good deal.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest here. I don't know what's worse.
You make that
Denmark's
deal?
ability to
I'll
defend
make that
itself
deal.
from the Nazis
Damn
or
good
their
deal.
negotiating ability, because that is some insane negotiating tactics. This would literally be like walking up to your dream house that's not for sale, it's not on the market. So you like go up, ring the doorbell, the homeowner answers, you're like, hey, I really like this house. I know it's not for sale. I'm gonna overpay you for it. I'll give you $10 million if you sell me this house. And the homeowner's like, counteroffer. You can keep your money. I'll move out. You can move in and just act like you own the place for free. Okay, I don't even know what's going on anymore. Regardless, World War II is over, so America kind of just like abandons a lot of their little military outposts that they have on Greenland, and there's really no use for it anymore. Fast forward to 1951, the Cold War's heating up, and now we're worried about the Soviets attacking. We've got Alaska guarding us on one side, we're wide open on the other side. We need another big base in Greenland. On top of that, we also want to control Greenland because man strategy still applies, and now it's more adopted doctrine. The gaps that we talked about earlier between Greenland and Iceland and the UK actually has a term now, the GU gap. And now it's even more important because now not only does America need to control it for trade routes, they also need to control it to prevent Soviet submarines from entering the Atlantic and getting close to America. So in 1951, America launches Operation Blue Jay, where they go in and construct an entire airbase, Thule Air Base, in 104 days, which is a massive logistical flex, showing off to the entire world. They make a whole documentary. They promote the holy shit out of it to show off to the Soviets. This is what we're capable of, and now we also have this air base that you're going to have to deal with if you want to fuck with us. Okay, so now we're defended by the Soviets. Everything's good. Fast forward to 1957. The Soviets have a big year. They have their first successful intercontinental ballistic missile test, and they launch Sputnik 1, which is the first satellite to orbit the planet. planet. This scares the holy shit out of the American public and the U.S. military because, well, I mean, they have a missile that can now reach America, and they have a satellite up in the sky above our heads. They can obviously target and reach us anywhere they want. That's not actually true. They didn't really have that capability, at least not to the degree that everybody feared, but that was the fear. And this is where the Cold War era concept of mutually assured destruction, or MAD, comes into play. Which, if you don't know, is basically the concept of like, hey, America's got a bunch of nukes, the USSR has a bunch of nukes, so we're just not going to nuke each other because as soon as I detect that you're going to nuke me, I'm going to retaliate and nuke you, and then we're all dead. And this causes Alaska and Greenland to both become even more important because now they're going to be hosting early warning systems to detect Soviet missiles if they end up firing them, and that's going to give America enough time to ideally respond with their own nukes. But the problem is that in 1957, America doesn't have ICBMs yet. We're not going to have an ICBM until 1959, so the only way to maintain this mutually assured destruction is to have these early warning systems in place and to literally have the pilots and the nukes loaded on the plane, and the pilots are literally going to live and sleep on this plane, being ready to take off in a matter of minutes if they detect a Soviet missile inbound. So that's what's going on. Fast forward to 1959, America gets ICBMs. You want to know what would go great with our new ICBMs? A secret underground layer to launch all our ICBMs from. Well, technically it's not underground, it's going to be under ice. We're going to go to Greenland, where there's this like mile-thick ice sheet, and we're going to carve a secret underground tunnel network into this ice sheet and use it to launch all of our missiles. And this is going to be a top-secret project known as Project Iceworm, and on paper, it's a brilliant idea because this is going to be concealed under all of the ice. It's going to be away from mainland America, so it's basically going to be immune to a Soviet first strike because they're not going to be able to identify where it's at. It's up in the Arctic, it's hard to get to, and even if you do get there, there's no identifying terrain features. It's just white ice wasteland absolutely everywhere. The Soviets are never going to be able to find it. Off paper, just, you know, as a guy, as an electrician, a dude that's built a lot of stuff, the idea of building an entire nuclear base out of ice kind of seems like a stupid idea because I know this is going to be shocking to many of you. Ice fucking melts. But hey, what do I know? I mean, I'm just some dude that makes a living selling t-shirts on his YouTube channel. I'm sure the scientists and the people put in charge of trillions of tax dollars are much smarter than me, and it's going to work out fine. Let's see what happens.
We call this foreshadowing.
So in 1959, they start building this secret under ice base, and pretty quickly, the people from Denmark are like, hey, what the fuck are you guys doing? And even though America has a treaty that pretty much says they can do whatever they want on Greenland, they also can't really tell the Danish people what they're doing for a couple of reasons. One, it's a secret, and two, they're going to be fucking pissed. You see, at this point in time, Denmark has a pretty solid stance on, like, we don't want anything to do with this nuclear arms race. They're sitting there watching America and the USSR basically have a pissing contest to see who could blow up the world the best, and Denmark is like, we don't want anything to do with this because if you start building nuclear facilities on Greenland or our land or anything associated with us, we become a target. We don't want that target painted on our back, which, to be fair, is completely reasonable. So the American government is like, okay, we'll stop. No, I'm just kidding. They fucking lie. They then proceed to turn this into a humongous PR campaign where they tell Denmark and the rest of the world that they're building something called Camp Century. And Camp Century is basically framed as one giant experiment / showing off contest where America's going to go in there, build this massive under ice base, showing off American logistics and American construction capability. And then once we do that, we're going to have a bunch of people go and live in this under ice base where they never see the sun as a huge social experiment to see how people handle living underground in close quarters with one another in case people did ever have to go underground because of nuclear fallout.
Shit, it's 2 a.m.
On one hand, that's fucking stupid, but on the other hand, this is the American government, so that makes complete sense. Sure, go ahead and build your underground experiment. So the Americans get to work. First things first, how are we going to power this thing? Okay, if we have to ship diesel fuel for generators all the way into the Arctic Ocean, that's going to be a humongous logistical strain, so that's not ideal. You know what would be cool? We could build the world's first nuclear reactor and then ship it to the Arctic and then install it in our fucking freezer base. Next question, how are we going to get fresh drinking water? Well, we are surrounded by ice. You can't drink ice. We got to figure out some way to build it. So they go inside the base, they drill a gigantic hole straight down, and then just basically drop a space heater into it, and then proceed to melt the ice in the hole, basically creating a giant well of fresh glacial ice. I'm gonna say that a bit slower. They're gonna melt a bunch of the ice
separate Air Force base,
America
too.
all day, every day, 24/7. That way, the planes are already in the air, so once America detects that the nukes are inbound, they're just going to radio the pilots, hey, we're all going to die. The nukes, the pilots are going to be like, copy. They're going to change course, break out of their hockey line into the USSR, and bomb them back. Hey, that's that pilot's job. Like, I'm going to go to work, it's going to be super boring, or it's going to be the apocalypse. There's no in between. So, anyways, that goes on for years. Fast forward to 1963, going back over to our secret project, Iceworm, our glacier base. You're never going to believe this. We have to abandon the project because the ice is fucking melting. Luckily, obviously, this was predictable and everybody saw this coming, so they had a plan to evacuate and take out everything with them. No, I'm just kidding. They basically grabbed all the important shit, the nuclear reactor, all the other super important stuff, took that back to America, and then just left a bunch of other military equipment and, radioactive waste and fuel and all kinds of other toxic shit inside the ice. Because the ice would just, freeze over and stay frozen in this glacier forever. And look, I'm the most pro-American dude on the planet, but seriously, we gotta work on a pull-out game because this work was making us. We're not good at it. So, secret ice flight is not gonna happen, but we do still have Operation Chrome going. I mean, it's going. In 1961, there was a crash and we accidentally dropped two of the nukes in North Carolina. Luckily, they didn't detonate. And then in the same year, in 1961, we also accidentally dropped some on California. Luckily, those didn't detonate either. And then in 1964, same thing again happened in Maryland. Got lucky, they didn't detonate. And then in 1966, our luck would run out. On the coastline of Spain in the Mediterranean, a B-52 carrying 4 high bombs had a mid-air collision with an oil tanker that was doing aerial refueling. 2 of the bombs, their conventional explosives detonate, blowing the nuclear material all over the place, contaminating absolutely everything, and it's going to emit radiation for millions of years, so that takes a ton of extensive cleanup. One of the bombs fell on land, did not detonate, and was recovered, and the other bomb fell into the Mediterranean and is just sitting down there at the bottom of the ocean, and America has to figure out how to go get it. So Uncle Sam calls up one of his main characters, a guy by the name of Carl Brashear, the first ever black master diver in American history, who lost his leg in an accident and then went on to become the first amputee master diver in history. And they send him down to the bottom of the ocean in his dive suit, and he is able to recover this nuclear warhead. There's an entire movie about this guy. It's one of my favorite military movies of all time. It's called Men of Honor with Cuba Gooding Jr. You should absolutely watch it if you haven't already. Fast forward again, 1968, Operation Chrome Dome. B-52 pilots are flying thermonuclear warheads that are active off the coast of Greenland. They're headed up into the Arctic. It's getting kind of cold in the cabin, and one of the pilots has a brilliant idea to keep it warm in there. He's going to, adjust some shit in there, and he's going to have hot air from the engine manifold flow directly into the cabin. The air coming into the cabin is so hot that it catches the upholstery of the chairs they're sitting on fire, and the plane crashes, the conventional explosives and the nuclear bombs detonate, blowing radioactive material all over the fucking place, and America has to go in there, and there is extensive cleanup that has to happen. On top of that, the Danish government is absolutely pissed that America's flying nuclear warheads over their territory when they specifically told us that they wanted nothing to do with that, and this leads to the end of Operation Chrome.
For national protection. We need Greenland for national protection.
Fast forward to modern times, both 2019 and today, Donald Trump, during both of his presidential terms, has attempted to acquire Greenland. You want Greenland? Well, for all of the reasons that we've already highlighted in this video, all of those are still relevant. But why does he want it right now? Why is it so important right now? In the 1800s, it was important to acquire it so that we could be the British couldn't have it. In World War II, it was important that we had it so the Nazis. During the Cold War, it was important that America had it so the Soviets couldn't have it and be within striking distance of America, and America could instead use it to defend itself from the USSR. So why is it so important today? It's China.
China. China. China. China. China. China.
China has been showing a huge interest in Greenland since about 2010. They've offered to build airports on the island. They've offered to help build infrastructure. They've tried to acquire mineral mining rights. They're basically trying to work their way into Greenland so that they have a foothold there as well, and America doesn't want that for obvious reasons. Because of that, America tried what America's always tried. They tried to buy Greenland. And just like always, Denmark said no, and now they've went to the negotiating table to come to some kind of agreement. And we don't know what's going to happen yet, but from what we've heard, it sounds like they're just forming the 1951 Defense of Greenland Agreement, and America's going to be allowed to maintain or potentially grow its military presence on the island with missile radars and troops and all kinds of other stuff. And then potentially they're going to talk about mineral rights. If I had to go out and guess, I would say the Trump administration is going to try to buy the mineral rights for Greenland, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say Denmark is going to say no, but we will agree to also not sell the mineral rights to China, Russia, or anybody else. If so facto, history repeats itself. America has a reason for wanting Greenland. America offers to buy Greenland. Denmark says no, keep your money, we keep owning it, but you can pretty much do whatever you want. And that is today's history lesson. History is important to know because it is the best predictor of the future. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at thefatelectrician.com.
That was a disappointing video.
Alright, fine, you talked me into it. I'm gonna go watch.
In order to show you how not racist I am, here are some Asian slurs. What up, plops and plopettes? My name is Jack Mandeville.
We can't do slurs. That'll get us canceled. Hold on a second. Shite. Shite. Dang it.